In an archive sits a pristine 600-year-old text, over 200 pages of intricate ink and vellum, perfectly preserved. And yet, there is not a single person alive who can read a word of it. In 1912, an antique book dealer named Wilfred Voynich was sorting through a hidden collection of materials. He was looking for rare finds, but what he pulled from the shelves defied any standard classification. He found it tucked away inside the Villa Mondragone, a massive Jesuit estate nestled in the hills outside of Rome. Voynich assumed he had acquired a standard medieval codex. Instead, he had recovered a linguistic void, an obsession that would haunt him for the rest of his life and leave a century of scholarship at a total standstill. The manuscript is divided into distinct sections. The largest appears to be an herbal guide. It is filled with meticulous, brightly colored sketches of roots and leaves. But botanists have analyzed these drawings for decades and failed to identify a single matching species on Earth. What sits beside the flora is even stranger. Dense blocks of looping, handwritten characters cover the margins. It has no punctuation, no recognizable syntax, and matches no known alphabet. Moving further into the book reveals fold-out pages charting the cosmos. There are complex rings of stars and zodiac symbols, but the constellations map to empty space in our night sky. Then there is a section dedicated to biology. The pages depict dozens of miniature women bathing in green pools, interconnected by a sprawling, bizarre network of plumbing and organic tubes. The format is entirely familiar. It is laid out exactly like a traditional medieval scientific encyclopedia, but all the data it contains references a reality that simply does not exist in the historical record. When Voynich first distributed copies of the text, he expected a quick translation from his colleagues. Instead, top historians and linguists returned blank stares. The symbols refused to align with Latin, Greek, or any known linguistic roots. Decades later, the text attracted the attention of elite World War II codebreakers. These were the exact same cryptographers who cracked the Enigma machine, yet they applied their most advanced techniques to the manuscript and yielded nothing. Recently, researchers fed the entire dataset into modern artificial intelligence networks. The algorithms processed the loops and curves millions of times over, yet they failed to generate a single cohesive sentence. A century of brute computational force has proven ineffective. Because we cannot read the words, investigators have been forced to rely strictly on the visual evidence to figure out what kind of document this actually is. The oldest and most persistent hypothesis is that the manuscript is a practical, albeit secret, manual. A grimoire collecting natural remedies, forbidden alchemical practices, or medicinal botany. But the evidence strains that theory. Standard medieval medical texts relied on literal references to human anatomy. They used direct, explicit diagrams to instruct the physician. The same is true for herbal guides of the era. Authentic botanical manuscripts employed widely understood symbology, like specific cross marks on a root, to indicate a plant's medical properties to an apothecary. The Voynich plants lack any of these standard markers. Even historical alchemy, which relied heavily on secrecy, used a recognizable visual language of laboratory instruments, furnaces, and beakers to convey its processes. The Voynich contains none of this hardware. The layout strongly mimics a 15th century textbook, but without earthly plants or standardized medical iconography, it is nearly impossible to categorize it as a functional reference manual. This leaves two opposing theories. Either the text is a perfectly constructed cipher hiding a real language, or it is a highly elaborate, meaningless hoax designed to scam a wealthy collector. This graph illustrates Zipf's law. It is a strict mathematical rule dictating that in any genuine human language, the most common word is used exactly twice as often as the second most common word, and so on, creating a predictable downward curve. When linguists finally mapped the character groupings in the Voynich manuscript, they applied this exact statistical analysis to the gibberish. The resulting data perfectly tracks along the expected curve. The repetition of the unknown symbols aligns flawlessly with the hidden mathematical structure of a real language. Zipf's law wasn't discovered until the 1930s. A medieval scammer stringing together random shapes to make a quick profit could not possibly have engineered this statistical distribution by accident. To eliminate the possibility of a modern forgery, researchers turned to radiocarbon dating, testing tiny samples of the vellum pages. The analysis confirmed the animal skin pages date explicitly to the early 1400s. The materials are undeniably authentic to the medieval period. This creates a stubborn paradox. We have a physical object verified to be 6 centuries old. We have text that carries the distinct mathematical fingerprint of human speech, yet the contents remain totally impenetrable. Every framework we try to apply falls apart. The physical evidence constantly pulls in opposing directions, ensuring that no single historical theory can account for every variable. After 600 years of study, passing through the hands of emperors, book dealers, military cryptographers, and supercomputers, we still cannot read a single confirmed sentence. The manuscript operates as a total anomaly. It continues to successfully resist the combined analytical weight of modern human intelligence. Today, the book resides deep within the vaults of Yale University. It sits quietly in the dark, its strange plants and looping script remaining silent. In an era where information is instantly accessible and every corner of the globe is mapped, the manuscript remains an outlier, a physical silence that 6 centuries of human progress have failed to break.